Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Again, there are lots of the political news, but I want to start this video from the review of the situation on the ground because there are some of the good news as well. Well, first of all, yesterday's information that Russians advanced in Vovchansk was wrong. On the other military map source, they show like this, so Russia reached this river, but actually it's not true. Moreover, Ukraine liberated this part of the city, this quarter, or the capital of the quarters out there. Let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. Russians were even pushed from this direction too. So little by little, but Ukraine liberates the Vovchansk city. And here the group of the Russian soldiers is still trapped in the factory, I think already for more than 1 month. Before there were 400 of the Russian soldiers, and for the last time I heard there were around 15 after numerous of the Ukrainian attacks on this facility, but there are lots of the underground rooms where Russians still hide. And actually, in a way, they are stopping Ukrainian army from the further advancement because Ukraine should go further and not to leave the Russian forces behind. Even this restricted small group, but still Ukraine has to concentrate the forces to maintain those encircled. But nevertheless, we see that Russia is determined to reach this very important highway from Pokrovsk to Konstantinovka. And for today, they advanced towards Vovchansk village, unfortunately. So it was yesterday and it is today. Well, actually, there is no movement towards Vovchansk, but they are expanding their bridgehead near the lake, and they do it successfully, as you see. So just Vovchansk, and there are no any more villages before they might potentially reach this highway. Actually, they're very close. By cutting this road, they might definitely disturb the Ukrainian supplies. Plus, Russia continued to search for the weak spots in Ukrainian defense, so here in this area there was no Russian advancement for a very long time, but just recently they took some of the ground, some of the fields on the way to Rozdolivka. It is in a gray zone, as you can see, and here Ukraine keeps all of those lines of the villages as the defense lines. So here Russia is also getting closer, but those are the only changes for today. To the other news, locals reported about some sort of the smoke near the Belbek military airfield close to Sevastopol, but after all it appeared that just the grass was burning. There were no any drone strikes on Crimean Peninsula today. But what was not the wildfire is the fire of the Russian ammunition depot in Luhansk, which was targeted by HIMARS. And recently Russia continued to lose lots of those ammunition depots on their side and also on occupied territories, as you may see. Guess about the frontline images or something like that? Well, even in my previous video that I just spoke and showed a couple of the photos of the Russian Buks and Tors air defense systems which were hit by Ukrainian drones, well, even that video was restricted for that. So sorry, from now on I'll have to blur absolutely everything of what is happening on the front lines. Basically, it's the YouTube policy, but I have the alternate, and it's my Telegram where I post absolutely everything of what is happening on the front lines and the other news on Ukraine. But I can tell you what is there on the picture. There is the Russian system, air defense system, Tor, and again Ukraine nails it. For the last time, there were numerous of the strikes of Ukraine on those Russian systems, usually middle-range systems, and those only were possible because Ukraine has obtained new drones, middle-range drones, which our guys could use behind the front lines, far behind. And with the help of the surveillance drones, the job is very, very effective. My friends, if you like the job that I do daily on YouTube, you may also consider supporting me on Patreon. My Patreon page is available in the video description just below. Thank you so much for maintaining my motivation. Then YouTube cancels monetization. This is the group photo of the Russian bomber pilots. Yes, exactly those pilots who launched the missiles to attack Ukrainian civilian, first of all, infrastructure. According to Ukrainian intelligence, one of the pilots was really frustrated about the attack on civilian infrastructure in Kiev, and he shared some of the documents with Ukrainian intelligence plus this photo. Well, it's hard to confirm that information because the source is unknown and we don't see those documents, so what we have is just this photo. Well, the Ukrainian media sources stated that it is true. And there's the other case appeared in the Russian media recently. They say that Ukrainian intelligence tried to bribe one of the Russian pilots who flies the strategic Russian bomber Tu-22M3. So they even made the video with this pilot, and he said that he got the proposal, he immediately reported to the Russian FSB. And they coordinated efforts to get the money from the Ukrainian side. They even show this cash. I just wonder, how can you transfer the cash from Ukraine to Russia? So who gave this bag full of dollars? No one knows. Even they don't say who it was. It is kind of stupid because usually cryptocurrency is used for those kind of the purposes. But the cash in the bag, well, it just shows that the story is mainly PR. The Ukrainian officials also say that this case is not real. And also Russia claims that Ukraine tried to sabotage their state-of-art air carrier Admiral Kuznetsov, the flagship of the Russian Navy, which is located in the maintenance docks, I think, for around 7 years already, or maybe 6. Well, this air carrier experienced 2 of the major fires, and it is completely no-go. Russian officials themselves stated that it's better not to repair the ship because it would cost a fortune. It's better to build even a new one, and they'll spend less funds, but nevertheless, it is still in the docks. So Russia claims that Ukraine paid someone to start one more fire of the ship. So Russians say that they continued this game, even filming some sort of the fire, not in the air carrier but elsewhere, presented the fire as the evidence. Presenting the video of the fire as the evidence. And they also received the funds, as they say. They also mentioned that then the Ukrainian side obtained the video information, they cancelled all the communications in the chat. But again, this information is uncheckable because we may only find it in the Russian propaganda. Seems like Russia is getting ready for something because those kind of the barricades start to appear right on the beaches of Crimea. Many of those. Well, actually, Ukraine also installed exactly those kind of the barricades in Odessa. Well, maybe Russians understood that Ukraine still has the capability to perform the landing operation in Crimea. I already told you in one of my videos of why I think it is possible. And there is something definitely upcoming. I mean, not exactly the landing operation of Ukraine in Crimea, but there will be the response by Ukraine and allies on the recent strikes by the Russian Federation. At least Jake Sullivan today said about it.
The horrific reality of Russia's brutality with the attack on the Children's Hospital in Kyiv just a few days ago, and we are working with the Ukrainians to deal with that attack and to respond with force and vigor.
So if I heard it correctly, they're working with the Ukraine to respond with force. Alright guys, now to the NATO summit. There were lots of the interesting things happening. Also, if we speak about the support of Ukraine and saying the things as they are. For example, Stoltenberg said that China is decisive enabler of Russia's illegal war against Ukraine. So now they do not hesitate to say that China, Russia and North Korea plus Iran created some sort of the axis of dictators in their confrontation against the free world. Free world, I mean Europe, United States, Canada, Australia, and all of the democratic countries. Definitely it is happening for the first time. Then they use this kind of the strong language. For example, here sending China as a signal that don't do it, it's better for you. And the same day the Chinese officials dismissed those allegations, saying that they are not helping Russia. Well, it means that they are definitely scared. First of all, scared of the Western sanctions. Also, the other countries like Australia are allocating their military support for Ukraine, plus the United States continue to send more military packages. In the recent one, there will be the Patriot systems included. Because of the long logistics from both of those countries, we expect the military aid to be delivered to Ukraine in around 1 month. This is the list of the American support. Here you may see 1 Patriot battery, so 1 Patriot system, and there it talks about the 2nd Patriot system, which could be delivered to Ukraine, but also there is the NASAM system going to Ukraine too, even systems, so many of those. Munition for HIMARS, artillery and lots of the other stuff. Zelensky again met with Joe Biden and they discussed the general military support of Ukraine and also the permission for Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles against the Russian military airfields. Well, still there is no permission from the United States given, but Zelensky said that he heard some of the positive signals about the case. Meanwhile, the German Chancellor Scholz is also against giving Ukraine the permission to use ATACMS missiles on the Russian military airfields, he said that it might bring escalation. Well, Scholz was actually against many of the things which Ukraine obtained. But finally he agrees with lots of the stuff, plus Germany doesn't supply long-range weaponry to Ukraine. It means that the Scholz voice is not decisive. It's very important to speak with the United States of America. Interesting, Slovakia supported the Ukrainian NATO initiatives. The Slovakian delegation also signed the document, the declaration that Ukraine step by step is going to NATO. It is not yet invitation, it's just the stating that the corridor for Ukraine is straight towards NATO and someday it will be out there. But just few hours after Slovakia signed the document, Fico came out and said that Ukrainian membership in NATO will lead to the Third World War. I think that this statement is nothing more but PR. They say one thing but do completely other stuff. And guys, President Biden is tired again. Let's listen to him.
Now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Well, here he understood that he said something wrong.
President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
He also misspelled the surname of his vice president, Kamala Harris, calling her Vice President Trump. Well, probably Joe Biden thinks a lot about Trump and Putin. They're both in his head, his enemies. Well, honestly, to be more serious, I think that Joe Biden has much less chances now to win against Trump, which is bad for Ukraine, but American society just sees that Biden is unable to handle it any longer. There was the video of my colleague, the Combat Veteran Reacts YouTube channel. I'm gonna put it in the video description just below, and he compared the debates of Joe Biden before, like 12 years ago, and now. And definitely Biden's performance and the situational awareness deteriorated. For Donald Trump it also happened, but not significantly. Compared to Joe Biden, well, it's not about his age, but about his state. Could be physical too, but mainly mental. You need to be blind not to see it, and unfortunately American society sees it very clearly. And the main reason to vote for Biden is not to vote for Trump. So it's the best quality of Joe Biden at this stage. And here we have the detailed explanation from my fellow YouTuber how it is important to keep your mental state clear if you are actually the main commander of the United States Army. And could we rely on Joe Biden if something really terrible happens in the world? Well, there's the big question. But alternate is also very risky, because Trump considering cutting back intel sharing with Europe, the satellite surveillance data and the intelligence data. He wants to keep everything within the United States, not to share with the key allies in Europe. And the European allies say that they rely on the United States intelligence as the key element to fight the possible Russian aggression on their territory. And the signals about it are coming from the Trump's camp, so definitely he wants to disturb NATO, we see it already. So because of this clear threat, Biden, I think, is still better. Well, obviously the best of the best case would be for Biden to step down and introduce maybe some sort of the new candidate. Simply because Biden might lose because of his not incompetence but inability to solve the issues. I think that first of all he should resolve his own problems of how he behaves in public, because definitely he looks like a very old guy, even older than he really is. And Donald Trump will obviously use this situation in his favor. Viktor Orban continues his vacation trip and he'll visit Trump in Florida. I think that he already did it. Also, Orban said that it's better not to accuse China by NATO. NATO is becoming some sort of the anti-China bloc. Well, after all, I think that Orban is not working with Russia, he works with China, because his intention was to introduce the Chinese peace plan on Ukraine. During his visit to Kiev, Moscow, Beijing, Washington, and now he'll speak with Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes Orban a lot. Well, in general, Trump likes dictators. We know about it. But still, Orban's voice is not decisive. He is not able to negotiate. And even Zelensky today said about it. The alcoholic Dmitry Medvedev drinks every day, it seems like that, according to his posts. He's very irritated about the NATO support of Ukraine. he took the quote of the NATO statement about Ukraine. We will continue to support Ukraine on its irreversible path to full Euro-Atlantic integration, including NATO membership. See, our enemies say it like that, stated Dmitry Medvedev. The outcome is clear. We should do everything that the irreversible path of Ukraine to NATO will be ended by elimination of Ukraine or elimination of NATO itself. In the best case, both. Ha ha ha, there should be the laughing sound on the background. He's like a small Dr. Evil with vodka. I don't know why, but most of the cringe is coming from Medvedev. Maybe he wants to show that he is like a shark floating between those FSB officials, because FSB circle actually controls Kremlin. And alcoholic Medvedev is not from FSB, he's just a clerk who occupied the management position in Gazprom before, and Putin just put him as the Russian president at some point because Dmitry is nothing. He's simply like a doll and Putin controls him fully. The Russian K-52 pilots decided to perform the special anti-terrorist operation. Even the Russian army does everything to show tourists that it's not the time for vacation. Well, actually, it's not the Crimea, but Anapa, it's the Russian territory. More about the helicopter topic, the Argentinian defense minister said that Argentina is ready to supply helicopters to Ukraine, as well as some of the military support. Well, before there were some of the talks ongoing about this case, but after some time Argentina had refused to supply those helicopters, and Russians say that, oh, it is because Russia pushed Argentina, but actually no. About the Swedish Gripen fighter jets, well, Ukraine actually refused to participate in this program. The Swedish military officials stated about it today. They say that Ukraine doesn't want to have lots of the aircraft types in its military. Kind of strange, because Ukraine officially will receive Mirage 2000, which is the other aircraft type compared to F-16. Well, I think that after all, our allies took this decision because it's more profitable for Ukraine now to concentrate on F-16s, at least this year or the next one. About F-16s, well, probably they're coming very soon. At least the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kuleba stated that F-16 question has been resolved and soon Ukraine is going to obtain those, I believe this month. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.